Hey everyone, and welcome to Influencer Confidential. On today's podcast episode, I'm bringing in Alexandra Page, a UGC creator who is absolutely crushing it. But what makes this interview so exciting is that she's actually one of our Pitching to Brands Master Course students. And having students on the podcast is always such a thrill to see how they take the strategies that I've taught them and actually implement them to work for them. What I love about Alexandra's story is that she started her UGC journey with 174 followers. I repeat, 174. That's how little amount of followers she had before she took the plunge with our program and literally landed her first four-figure brand deal within 30 days of doing the work. Alexandra's interview is really interesting because she talks a lot about developing an aesthetic as a UGC creator. She also lives in Tulum, Mexico, and really walks us through how she does UGC not living in the US and abroad, which I think is really interesting because a lot of the creators I talk to and work with want to live a more nomadic lifestyle or remote lifestyle. She'll also go over strategies that she used to help her pitch, help her negotiate, raise her rates, and we dive really deep into all things UGC. So if you're someone who's been waiting to get into UGC, let's dive in. I think you're going to really enjoy today's episode, and I can't wait for you guys to meet her. Welcome, Alexandra, to Influencer Confidential. I'm so pumped to have this candid conversation with you. As someone who's taken our program, who's on your UGC journey, who lives abroad, I feel like you have so much intel that you can share with us. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. It's honestly a full circle moment because I discovered you through listening to your podcast on Spotify.
Gosh, is this like some woo-woo manifestation? I love it.
It's so on brand for me, I'll say that, because as you know, that is me. I am so into manifestation and attracting things. And it's so interesting because when I discover something new that I am wanting to put into action, I go all in on the information and I just try and find whatever wormhole I can go down to learn and educate myself on it before I start. So I think when I first started looking into pursuing a career related to social media, related to content, I had found Latasha James. And then through her, I found you. And then next thing you know it, I was in the live training and buying the course. And now my life is just completely different from prior to doing all that. So it's really cool to be here and to talk with you. I still listen to your podcast. I'm going to listen to this.
You're going to listen to the episode, except this time you're on it, right? This time you're on it. Oh my God, I love that story. And I love just being so humble about it all because I know you've grown so much and you're doing such great things. And so I want to dive in. For those of you guys listening in, like Alexandra said, she heard about us through Latasha James, who is a friend of mine in this industry. We work together. We're close girls. I go to her with questions. So we're all just interconnected. It's amazing. And then now look how Alexandra's journey has led her to being a really great student testimonial. And I never get to do student testimonial podcasts. A lot of them are teaching, but I learn from students. I learn from people. When I hear someone that's oh, they did it, it's a little bit of that expander mindset. Well, if Alexandra could do it, then I can do it too, right? What makes you different than others? Obviously, you have your innate set of talents and things that you bring to the table, but I think student testimonials and interviews are always my favorite because we get to dig into the grit of it all. So let's start at the beginning. When did you decide you wanted to lock into UGC specifically? You started with under 500 followers.
I started with zero. And the crazy thing is that I had, of course, an Instagram before that, right? But it was a personal page filled with friends, family, music industry colleagues, because that's what I was doing prior to this. And I was like, you know what? No one's going to care about this new journey I embark on. That's just how I felt. And I'm like, it just sounds more aligned if I were to just create a new page and immerse myself in the community that's into this, and then I'll follow all new people. I'll learn from other creators. I'll learn from mentors like yourself. And that's what I did. So I really started from zero. And I think when I landed my first deal, I had 175 followers, something embarrassing. But I was like, let's go. If this is even possible, then the sky is really the limit. Because I listened to your podcast as Influencer Confidential. So to me, it was when I first started, I think I had the vision of okay, I know how to do social media. I've built artist pages in music. Like I can manage a community, right? I can show up and schedule content. I knew how to do all that. I was already using schedulers. Like I was efficient in that way. And I loved branding as well, because again, I was doing that in the music space. So I was like, wow, maybe I will be a social media manager and I can work with hotels here in Tulum where I live, or I can reach out to, wellness brands and see if they need that. And then somehow along the way, I discovered UGC and that there was an opportunity to actually work with the brands as an individual. And I was like, what is this? Because that wasn't even on my radar, to be honest with you. It kind of just fell into my lap. And then that got me more excited because it just seemed like it almost seemed too good to be true that I could be working with my dream brands, not depending on my follower and not having that pressure, which was something that was really pushing me out of music, was like this pressure that comes in entertainment.
Totally. I think is like really interesting is what you just said. Do you know how many people listening have 170 followers and have never gotten, never even thought, never even in their brains thought I could pitch, I could work with brands? Do you know how many people I talk to every single day that have the limiting belief of, I don't have enough followers. I can't enroll in your program. I don't have enough followers. I hear it all the time. It's all in here. And I'm always like, but I have a girl who started with like 100 and something. And I think because the follower thing is a psych out. Like people think, yes, you do not have enough followers for an influencer campaign. Absolutely. With 175 followers, you do not. But that's the key, right? It's not an influencer campaign. It's a content campaign. It's content that brands need. So where did that kind of like, I don't want to say mindset come from, but like that I guess no fear of, hey, even though I'm small, I should try? Or did you just understand from very early on that this is not a follower game and that it's psyching you out?
I think, again, coming from music, it's such a competitive industry and you're constantly comparing yourself to others. And it is now more about followers than talent, honestly. So in a lot of ways, that kind of calloused me for this to really go for it, because I was like, I have seen people go from 0 to 100 in music overnight. And like, I'm no stranger to pitching because I was also functioning as an artist manager, occasionally booking shows. So I was pitching to Spotify, Apple Music, like a shot in the dark, really. And with that, I had quite a bit of success. So I wasn't afraid to pitch. And I think that was like a superpower for me.
100%. The no fear being a superpower. I love that you said that. I actually have come to a new hypothesis in the last coming months that this industry, people that are creatives and artists at heart, they actually thrive really well in this space because of this. Hey, I audition all the time and I don't get the gig. And do you know how many actors like have told me auditioning is the gig, which is like pitching is the job. Like if you get it, great. But like most of an actor's life is pitching to be like how many shows, before you land the one. And I love that, having your background, whatever industry you're in, y'all, you can use your professional backgrounds, whether you're in music or corporate America, and lean into your skill sets and transfer them into this world. I love that you were able to do, because again, you're not coming into this as like a newborn. You're like, hey, I'm coming in with my background in my old work, in my other industry, and I'm blending it into this space. So UGC specifically, like, did you always just want to work or create content? Like, you're an artist, clearly you're creative at heart. I can tell that. So was it for you just like, oh, I want to create content for these brands, because of the lifestyle it was going to give you? Or do you truly enjoy that creative process as well?
It's definitely a mix of both. So I've now lived in Tulum, Mexico with my husband for 5 years. And since moving here, our music career has also grown. However, we found that our interest in the wellness space and just being healthy, living so well, everyone here is more or less an entrepreneur. Like I'm surrounded by creative people from all over the world because a lot of us moved here during the pandemic when we were able to just like pick up and go. And a lot of people who have the freedom to work remote end up being these creatives or entrepreneurs. And so it's a really inspiring place to live in that regard. And we just felt that every time we left to go do a few tour dates in the United States or different countries, we were so drained and depleted. And we were like, wow, we're really used to routine. We're really used to like doing morning yoga and meditation and eating good. And like, it was just like becoming my new life, my new passion, both of us. And we were like, maybe music is like something we want to do for fun. And perhaps we could work in wellness in some way, but I just didn't really know how because so many of my friends here are personal trainers, are wellness directors at these luxury hotels. Like they kind of like had their niche figured out. And I was like, how do I do this? Like, I'm not a certified yoga instructor. Like I want like to live in luxury. I want to still, make a lot of money as well. That's like a goal of mine. So when I kind of put two and two together, like, wait a second, we can really approach wellness brands and work with them and create content and work on these campaigns. It was just an aha moment of like, oh my God, I get to continue being a creative, continue working from home with my husband, like being free, having that freedom in life, yet I'm going to be working on more aligned projects that don't require me to go out until 4 a.m. Like that's just like, I just turned 34. My husband is 37 and we've been entrepreneurs for a very long time, but that lifestyle just isn't it anymore for us. And it's great because since we've made this transition, we can now hop on our motorcycle and go play at one of the most beautiful hotels in the world and be back home in 10 minutes and be in bed at a reasonable hour and then wake up and work on brand campaigns. So it's the dream. No, like it is everything I wanted, to be honest.
I've never heard the perspective about like UGC actually bringing stability. I think this is like such a lovely perspective, or like being a full-time content creator, being able to create content for brands, have that actually the way you're talking about it compared to other artistic endeavors. Like this was really like a stable thing. Like you could create content, you can like have this routine lifestyle that was important to you. So I think it's just a really refreshing outtake. And I'm excited to hear that like perspective. So something that I think is really interesting, Alexandra, is you live in Tulum, Mexico. And I often tell the creators that come to my trainings or that I work with or that want to start pitching, again, that limited belief of, well, I'm not in the US, so I can't do UGC. I hear this stopping people from kind of embarking because they're like, well, shipping and like, how would I work with a brand? And local brands don't want this. I had a girl yesterday mentioning something similar, South Africa. And then I hear you, like this gal and her husband who live in Tulum, right? So you're living abroad. And I obviously know many people like you. I have a girlfriend in Dubai who is a Canadian creating content for a German brand. I see it. You're in it, you see it. But other people listening in, they may have some limiting beliefs around location. And I'm not going to say it's easy around shipping, but maybe you could let us into the world, how you've gotten creative, or if you have systems at play, especially for anyone listening in that wants to create UGC, maybe is not based in the US or is an American traveling, living a nomadic lifestyle. Is UGC something that you can do while being abroad, nomadic? Clearly, you're the example of yes, but maybe you could let us in into how you kind of like did the workaround.
Yeah. So I come from New York, very accessible place, major city. I was living in the suburbs, but like just the access and convenience is like any place in America, right? So easy. And when you live in a place like Tulum, if you've ever been here, like you really are in the jungle. It's developed so much in the last 5 years, which has honestly been a blessing because when I first moved here, I could barely get like an Amazon package. And now it's very different. However, Mexican customs is a nightmare, like an actual nightmare. And I got so scared when I started this because brands know that. So they will often work primarily with US creators when I'm contacting, American brands, which is what I do dominantly. And a few times in my early pitching, they were like, they either asked for my address and sent the package and it got held at customs and it had to get like, they'll send it back. they'll return to sender before they help you get it. Or they would just be like, we can't work with any creators outside the US. So it was, I don't want to say discouraging because I was like, I will figure this out. But it was just like, oh no, like, is this going to be a problem? Because I'm not moving back to New York. Like, I love my life here. This is part of why I want to do this. So funny enough, we have a few like Facebook groups for locals and expats to just share information. And I went over to the Facebook group and someone was like, I have a guy who will drive your package over the border from Texas if you like write him on WhatsApp, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I can't run a business writing some rando on WhatsApp and getting this driven across the border. But if there's someone who does this, there's gotta be some sort of business that also does this. So I went deep into research mode and I did find a few services that exist and do this 100% legally. And they just have the relationships with custom agents on land and they have all the proper documentation. And that's really like the main thing is like the brands maybe don't include the right things on the commercial invoice or whatever it is. So I found this amazing company that I have like a dashboard. I have a whole system that really, if I just communicate to the brands like, hey, this is what needs to happen in order for us to work together. They love the communication. Like yes, it takes me an extra week to receive product, but I just find that as I'm talking to these brands, I'm really focused on like kind of massaging the relationship if it's someone I want to work with. And really no one gives me a hard time about that. They send it right to Texas. I have my own address there. And then I can hop into my dashboard, request a forward. They drive it over the border and then they send it from Reynosa, Mexico. They put it in FedEx and it goes from Reynosa right to Tulum to my door. And it's all completely done. And it's like, I pay maybe like $20 and I write it off as a business expense. Like I actually decide to cover that just to make it a no-brainer for the brand. To me, it's inexpensive. And I've worked with so many American brands this way and it's been so smooth and it's only getting smoother.
I'm dying. Like
I'm
literally
dead.
dying. No,
it saved my life.
No, I'm dead because first of all, there's so many new businesses out there, y'all, that we don't even know exist. And Alexandra was able to like figure this out. But like if you're abroad or you're traveling, there are these businesses. So you just have to look into it. Secondly, I love how easy you make it for the brand. Like you're like, here's my address. Like you're nurturing through them. You see it as a cost of business. So many people get so shook up with like spending money too. I'm like, y'all are running a business. There's costs to run a business. Like this podcast, there are costs involved. Like I had to buy equipment. I pay for the monthly thing. Businesses have costs and that's probably like affects your pricing. You probably bundle it into your overhead. Like, you know what it takes to run your biz, but you figured out this system, which I'm so pumped for you. And I hope that this inspires everyone kind of listening in that does live abroad or that is thinking of traveling and wanting to create content. Okay. So super freaking cool and something I've never been able to really talk about with people so candidly. Now, one of the things I'd love to chat about is the pitching process, because obviously that's something I'm very passionate about here at Sidewalker Daily. So I remember when you first joined our program, I think I saw Facebook, like in our Facebook group, you posted something. I'll see if I can like pull it up for this interview and the post edit. But basically you were like, I sent 100 pitches. It's been 4 weeks. I got my first 4-figure brand deal. I think that was like, I believe it was along those lines. And you're like, just to let everyone know, like, if you put in the work, it works. So talk to us about those early stages pitching and how any wins or any big turning points that helped you kind of break through that glass, get your first paid partnership, and then where you're at now.
Yeah. So early on, as a UGC creator, like with really no experience, I really didn't have much experience talking to camera. When I built my portfolio, I just did some like mock pieces of content to kind of show what I could do. So using a product from my house, like a skincare or something. And that's what I was working with early on. Like I just didn't have anything else. And I heard a lot of recommendation to do that just to get some examples sorted. So when I was pitching, it was pretty quiet when I started. I was like, man, like, I don't know if I'm ready, you know? And looking back, it might have been because I like my subject line being like Tulum-based creator or something. And brands were probably like, abort, like we're not sending there. I don't know. So it was just constantly optimizing. And then when the first deal came in, it was 4 figures and it did pay for the course, like the first deal. And then things just started firing after that. Like it was almost like the universe testing me, like, let's see if you can humble yourself and be patient with this process. And, you are a complete beginner, and who are you to receive a deal overnight, right? I also had my dream brands, like different sizes, not just brands with 1 million followers, but like nice brands, because I really wanted to position myself in that way. So I had expectations of like, okay, you're not an influencer, like you really have 3 followers. It's nothing, and you have barely any real examples in your portfolio. It's just like mock pieces. So yeah, when that first deal came in, I was like, oh, it's on. Like, we're about to gamify this, because clearly there's opportunity here, even for someone so new like myself. So that was great. And then it just really picked up.
That first, like, kind of like the lid pop. So talk to us about like how were you able to like maybe increase your rates or your pricing? Like, what did your month start looking like? Like, I know that in our notes, we saw that you really killed it. Like, I don't want to share that story, but like, how did you find that you were even able, was it more like long-term packages you were selling to your clients? Was it bigger packages? Were you increasing your rates? Because I think you took off quite quick, financially speaking.
Yeah, it's been awesome. Like, I wouldn't have expected it to go that way so quickly, considering the slow start. I had packages ready to go. So I had a rate card ready to go. I had bundles. I had 1, 3, and 5 videos, which I think is like pretty standard for UGC. A lot of brands ask me for those prices often. But at the time, no one asked for anything. No one barely even replied. I think I got a few gifts prior to getting that first paid deal, which was exciting because there were brands I loved. But yeah, the first deal that was signed was my 5 video option. And I was like, oh my God, someone wants 5 videos. Like, kind of realized that, okay, these packages are really important to have and are going to be what brings in the money. So I just ran with that. And since then, that price has gone up. I raise my rates regularly, if I'm being honest. I just do, because you learn so much along the way when you're speaking to these brands, and you hear what kind of budgets they have, or maybe you see online what other people are charging, and you can kind of, adjust, and you can play even. So like, I have grown to really love negotiating. Again, this is like something I've done before in a different industry. So, I'm finding that negotiating with brands is actually quite a bit easier than negotiating for like DJ gigs. Like, they seem to have better budgets here. So yeah, just constantly optimizing my pitching materials, and meaning like updating my portfolio. So the second I had like a better video example to put in my portfolio, I put it. I update my portfolio like every 2 weeks, just because I want to constantly send the freshest, the best work that I can. And then I update like the brand logos that I'm working with. And it's very impressionable. Like, this is what they're not basing it off my following. So I need to really come correct with my pitching materials, with the portfolio. And yeah,
I think that's really important. I've seen her portfolio. It is so very, very gorgeous and very, very visual. But like you said, because they're not basing it off your following, the pitching materials need to come correct. And I think that's a huge, huge like alert. Before we talk about portfolio, because I do have them in my notes and I do want to dive into negotiations, but like, tell us a story or something, like, if you're comfortable, either sharing like numbers, you don't have to share the brand, but like a budget that you saw that you're like, wait a second, holy God, like not what was I doing, but like maybe something that expanded you, because sometimes when you get a rate, it sets the base for your other pricing, right? If you see a brand partnership come through, or if you hit a $20,000 month, or if you hit a certain figure, it lifts the rest of you. So do you have any like, I don't know, stories or things that you've seen on the inside, especially for those listening in, so they can be like, wait, like that's happening? Because I always think that's exciting to chat about.
Yeah, all the time. It's a weekly thing of like my consciousness expanding over what brands will spend. Because when I started, I was charging $300 per video. And I think people sometimes start with like 100 or 150, 200. I was like, I'm just setting the standard of 300 for my time and energy. And if someone wants more than one video, I'll be willing to, negotiate, because at the end of the day, I don't really care if I have to make 1 video or 3 videos or 5. I want to take home the most money possible because I have an income goal to meet. I'm willing to, move on the price. To be honest, all of my deals, they vary widely in terms of price per deliverable. But yeah, I mean, I got an offer before even saying my rates, like a luxury brand offered me 1900 for one UGC video.
And you're like,
and I was like, what? I'm charging, 300. And that didn't come right away because that came once I was presenting a more, I guess, impressive portfolio with real work, with real brands. And they were like, oh, wow, she works with these brands. And they offered me that, what I guess was their standard price. But now pretty regularly, I charge like $650 per video. And that's like usually before including paid usage.
and that's at the very base. So like that doesn't even include paid usage, right? So you're like, if you're looking at like a month, like how many clients, for example, would you need a month to hit your goal? Are you thinking like if you can land, I don't know, 3 or 4, how are you thinking in terms of clients, in terms of video? Like how are you putting that math together so you can reach your end of month goal?
Yeah, I guess it's still a growing phase for me. Like I'm still not where I want to be, but I'm just so thrilled with each month growing. But yeah, I look at repeating clients, getting them to work with me again, trying to get them. I don't even have many like formal retainers, but I have people who just come to me every month now and are like, here's what we have for you this month. Here's what we have for you. I don't even have to really like have that conversation, so to speak. And I'm loving that process because I do realize a lot of brands, it's like young girls like me working there. And the conversation's very natural, very like, it's very professional, but it's also like, we're just co-creating here and we're building a relationship.
Yeah, you're on the same team. You're on the same team.
And I'm grateful that they want to work with me because I would say I kind of like, I guess I've positioned myself a little bit in a way of like influencer because my content's not like super salesy. So it's not so traditional UGC, but it's more like aesthetic UGC. And of course, influencers probably have more freedom to just like be themselves because the brand is really paying for their influence, their reach. Then with myself, I'm just kind of like, hey, like I'm not giving influence, but this is my vibe. This is my aesthetic. And so far, so good.
And they're able to buy that. Yeah. Like they're able to buy that vibe and they have like they're buying this aesthetic. They're buying this vibe.
Yeah. Especially if they're used to working with influencers. Like a lot of the brands I work with, they have huge influencer campaigns. And so I kind of like fit into that lineup quite nicely. It's not like this jarring difference between their UGC content and their influencer content, So it's like, I kind of just like slipped in. What was really important to me in this whole process was being myself in music, dealing with so much like rejection over the years, like so many highs and so many lows, but just getting to this point in my life where I just want to be myself. I want someone to hire me for my strengths, for what I bring to the table, not for something that I'm not. Like I said, I'm not this like, now I do a lot of talk to camera, but I'm more comfortable. But like early on, like that was not me. So I really leaned on what am I good at? What can I bring to the table for this brand? And for me, it was like aesthetic, like minimalist style editing, like almost influencer vibe.
You found your creative niche within UGC, which I think is a really great point with UGC creators. Like you guys don't have to do content that you don't want to do. Like if Alexandra doesn't want to do talking head because that's not her style and she rather just do like minimalist and that's her vibe, like lean into that. If you're listening in and you're like, I can't do minimalist aesthetic stuff, but I'm really good at like, forward facing or like selling style videos, like lean into that because there's going to be brands that want the aesthetic and don't want the selling. And then there's going to be brands that don't want aesthetic and want the selling. And there's brands for everyone. So it's like, I think what the lesson we're learning here, at least with Alexandra's success in this space, is leaning into the type of content you want to make, getting really good at that because you can't be what you're not. You know what I mean? It's also awkward in the sell. If you're like, oh yeah, I'll do a talking head testimonial. And you're like, shit, I can't even do that. Like, why am I even selling it if I cannot do it? Mm-hmm. And I feel like you've worked with a lot of brands since, right? Like I saw in your portfolio, like you have a list now, like you've worked with a lot, right?
Yeah. It's very exciting. It's brands that I would be buying their product, like, or that I would want to.
Like
but
who was a dream brand? Not a dream brand, but who was like a crush client that you got I'm sure that that is someone that you're like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm working with.
No, there's a few. So I worked on Henry Rose, which is a fragrance by Michelle Pfeiffer. And I'm just like, oh my God, Michelle Pfeiffer goals, that felt really
Yeah.
special, as well as a swimwear brand, Tropic of Sea by Victoria's Secret Angel, Candice Swanepoel. I was like, oh my God, like I
Yeah.
looked up to you in the Victoria's Secret fashion show.
And now I'm making content for you.
Yeah. And she's like liking my posts and like sharing them.
It's
And
like
I'm
crazy.
just like, this is so cool. Like, I really like the brands that want to continue building with you as a creator. Like, you just know when you click and you know when you don't. Like, I have had some brands that like, I was like, you know what? I'm good. And to be honest, those usually came through agencies, because there's a lot of agencies now that will be an inbound and you will, they may represent a few brands and they want to hire you for a campaign. And like a few times with that, I'm like, it didn't go well. Like that, some of these agencies are very sketchy. They don't pay on time, and not all of them. I've had a few good experiences, but I really find that most of my favorite clients came from my outbound pitching.
So let's talk about pitching, because I remember you bought the program, our signature course, Pitching to Brands Master Course. That's what I teach. Pitching, pitching, pitching. That's my niche. Yours is aesthetic, cool girl stuff. Mine is just pitch, 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 right? Whether it's, pivoting inbound leads, going out for outbound. I know in the beginning of your UGC journey, you were pitching like a mad woman. Do you find like outbound pitching is still where it's at for you? I know you get a lot of retainer-based business now, but I've seen your pitch. It's short and sweet. It's your portfolio that does really the talking. Like, our goal is to get them to click on your portfolio, because once they see it, they're like, oh my God, she's so cool and amazing, and we want to work with her. But like, tell us about, like, I'd love to hear about your pitching cadence. Like, you're still new in this space, but like, are you actively pitching? And maybe share like how the course has helped you in this process from the brand deal side.
Absolutely. I pitch every single month. And what I do more than pitching is something that I learned from the course and from my calls with you. I follow up like a mad woman. And I can't tell you, you said something so powerful to me and to the students, that the money is in the follow up. And I've never heard something more real than that. Like, you have to really put yourself in the perspective of the brand and understand, not only are they running a huge business and part of a huge team, they're getting so many people like us reaching out to them. And then they're also dealing with influencers who maybe, that's even more of a serious priority in their head. So I just had to really commit to that follow up. Like, I set a follow up cadence for all of my pitching. So I basically do like cycles, and my husband helps me with this very much, but I can't tell you how many times I pitched to a brand and it took 3 follow ups to get a reply. And then it took, several back and forth emails to close a deal. But we closed, and sometimes for like really good money. And I think people are afraid to follow up. They're afraid to sound annoying or whatever it is. But like, you can't take things personal when people don't get back to you. Like, you really have to know that it's sometimes just wrong timing. Maybe they're not sourcing creators at the moment, so they just can't tend to this email right now. Like, you have to understand that like, not every email can be answered in the moment every day. And or maybe your portfolio didn't grab them at the time, whatever the case is. I have just followed up religiously. So I will like send a pitch and follow up 1 week later if needed, 2 weeks later, 1 month later. And then I'll like wait a few weeks and literally start the process all over again with the same brands. And I will cycle through brands doing that. And honestly, like, you have to go out and get it. You have to be like that. And for me, pitching has been fundamental, because living in Mexico, I can't use those creator platforms. They're really not available here. Like, all these platforms that people say, oh, I just got booked doing Billo or Coley. Like, there's so many platforms that hire UGC. It's just not an option for me. So that was like, okay, you really need to double down on the pitching, because like, it's harder for you. Genuinely is. And yet I feel like I'm leading the conversation in a lot of ways. So it's like, I like that positioning. I like to be presenting myself, like, because even on the platforms, it's weird. Like, sometimes you can't even like link your actual portfolio. You have to like it doesn't have the flow. Like for me, I've really leaned on the portfolio to like sell me as a new creator. And that's what I want brands to look at. I want them to read my short, concise email. Like I want them to feel my energy, feel my tone. And like that, I try to like deliver like a very calm and grounded sort of introduction with a new brand. And then even the way I follow up is like, it's just very like low key. Like it's not aggressive. It's not desperate. Like I feel desperation repels people. And when people don't reply, like I do not personalize that. It's fine. You know, I will revisit it and that's it. You know, things take months sometimes to come together. They really do.
Truly. And I think this is so important, y'all. So if you're listening, please hear it straight from, straight from both of us, the importance of following up, because I believe, Alexandra, and quote me if I'm wrong, before you started pitching, you were not really doing brand deals, correct? Like, what is that a fair statement? Like,
absolutely
yeah.
Zero.
So like you miss the shots you don't take. You don't pitch, you don't get fed. You want to go eat, you got to go hunt. And I think, I'm really glad that our program was like a part of obviously your journey, because I remember you saying like, yeah, I was not pitching. I was not doing any brand deals. And then I took the leap. I ended up doing your program. And then 30 days later, I sent out these 100. I remember you put like, you're like, I just went for it. And yeah, things took a second, but because you have to follow up. If you're following up 3 times, that's already 3 weeks that it could take just to get a response, right?
Yeah.
It's really exciting for us here as a company to be like, oh my gosh, like, because you know what I do? It's not about selling a course. It's about untapping people's potential. Like anytime I get interviewed, I just did a keynote last week. And people are asking me, what's your industry? What do you do? It's so much more than selling a course. Like for me, it's like entrepreneurship, helping people like in their businesses, like seeing people like you, like truly the exact story of a creator that has 170 followers, who took a chance on herself, who created content with the things in her home, who created a beautiful portfolio, truly stunning, vibey, cool girl, like all the way, and then went for it and just knocked on these doors, these virtual doors, until brands started responding. And then, like you said, the universe confirmed your efforts. Like you made an effort and the confirmations came,
Absolutely. And I'd love to just make an example out of like that brand who ultimately offered me $1,900 for one video. And the first line in the email was like, your portfolio is amazing, so helpful. We're running this campaign right now. Let me know if you'd like to be part of it. This is our budget, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, wow, amazing offer. One of the best I've gotten. I was emailing that brand since May and they got back to me, in September. Like they didn't even answer me. And in all the previous rounds of outreach, they did not answer me. But then when they did answer, she came with like a lovely compliment and enthusiasm and excitement to work with me. So, and it's a huge, huge brand. So it was just
you
so
never
telling.
know what people, you never know what people are doing. This idea of overnight success, getting a brand deal overnight, like it was a 3-month later turnaround, but you locked in that 2K, which is super exciting. Again, for one video, which is awesome. And I see these again, I'm lucky because I get to talk to people like you and I see these stories often. It's more for the people listening in to be like, damn, like that could be me too. I just need to put in that effort to get those results back. Speaking of the portfolio, I did just want to speak to that quickly because we keep saying how gorgeous it is. So something, y'all, because I've seen Alexandra's portfolio that makes it really stand out is like she said, branding was really important to her, right? So her deck gives that vibe. Like, if you are thinking that aesthetic wellness Tulum content, like her deck like literally oozes that, right? From the big fonts to like the color palette, like it has an identity. It's not like this boring little Canva template. And then also lots of examples. Like it's just full of examples, but the examples are good. So it's not just pulling up a portfolio with like random, like, examples. They're great examples. They're so, any video that you click, you're like, wow. And the same with the photography. It's like awesome. So just making sure your portfolios are that first impression. Alexandra, any portfolio tips? Because I know we keep saying that this is such an important piece of the pie for people pitching.
Yeah, I think it's your first impression. It's your resume. And for me, like I said, I really wanted to book aligned deals. Like I don't want to receive a bunch of random product that I'm not going to use, that I don't want. How cool would it be to receive product I love and am excited to use and create for and would work well with my style. So my whole thing was like, I also want to justify my rates too, because I kind of bypassed the beginner rates and I kind of went to like, okay, like I saw so much recommendation about this online. Like, okay, I've been doing UGC for 1 to 2 years. Like, here's what I charge. I'm like, cool. I'm going to start there because, it just sounds like a number that can justify my time and energy. So therefore, when I built the portfolio, I really wanted to show brands what they're going to get while working with me. And I felt that it should go beyond just the examples. It should be in the visual flow. It should be in like the energy you feel when you land on this page, just like a grounded place to land when you open this thing. Because again, like my life really depended on it. It's not like I have followers. It's not like I'm really, I'm not in the US. So I had several things, that were working against me, so to speak. And I just felt like personal branding will let you know, like, yeah, I might be new, but I do know how to create content. I do take my time. I do deliver a polished result. And I want you to feel that when you arrive to my page. So yeah, that's
it's almost like if we all owned like a brick and mortar, right? Like I always tell creators, like, would you have a candle? Like, what would your store smell like? Like if you had like a little boutique, what's the vibe of that? And your pages online, you guys, your portfolio is that essence. It is that vibe. Like it represents you. It's your digital storefront, so that's the energy that you want to put into your materials, because without that, like, it's like if you had a little like store and it was just like the windows weren't clean and there's no bad lighting. And like, I don't know, when you walk into a really great boutique, it's like you see like, I'm just using this example, but those things are psychological. Plants and a nice smell and this, and you're like, wow, this feels so great. Like you want them to be like, I get who you are.
Yeah,
exactly. And I think that's really important.
Kind
and
of
then
like,
oh, sorry, go ahead.
Just like so they could also envision their product in my world. Like I thought that was important because the type of brands I was contacting were very much like wellness and clean beauty, like non-toxic products and all this. And I live that way, so I
love that.
I wanted my portfolio to like scream that so that they would feel like, yeah, we can definitely have our product in this room with this girl and it's going to be on brand for us.
Yeah. Before we wrap up, but I did want to ask, because we did mention negotiations a little bit earlier, especially when it comes to things like usage and UGC brands, especially if a brand is just trying to run ads. I've seen instances where the brand's like, send us the raw footage or send us this, or we want to, add XYZ to it. And they almost make it feel like you can't negotiate because they'll be like, this is what we want. How do you like advocate for yourself and be like, actually, like, I don't do that, or I do that, or, like, what are your thoughts around the negotiation piece?
Yeah, I think I was a lot more conservative when I started just because I was so grateful for anyone to, buy 1 video, 3 video, or 5, which is what I was offering at the time. And I still do. But now I just push back. Like I'm not afraid to. I realize that if I negotiate and say like, okay, based on what you told me here that you need, my rate is actually, so like, let's say if they offer 600, I'd be like, my rate is actually 1,200 for something like this. But meanwhile, I'd actually be happy with the 600. Like that was fine for me for that scope. I will just double it. And I'll be like, this is it, because I know they're going to come back with a counter. So things like that, especially when it involves, like if they want some usage baked in, I have found that I should also just keep a higher rate because usage, like including some sort of usage, maybe 30 days into the price they want to pay, like upfront, is becoming like very normal. So I just can keep raising my rates and I give room for negotiation so that when we land, like it's in a place that I'm happy with. And it's flexible
Definitely.
too. Like you can't expect every brand to have the same budget. They're hiring a lot of creators. You're not the only one. And it really, for me, it's like an energy thing. It's like, how do I feel with this brand? Do I see like long-term recurring work with them? If I do, then I know like, okay, this is going to become like a regular part of my income. So I want them to keep coming back, right? Like in the long term, I'm making more money off this one client anyway. So just being flexible and not being
knowing
afraid
when to walk
to
away, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, not
many
like
times
not
I've
being
walked away.
afraid. Yeah, just
Yes.
being like, this doesn't work. Like, thank you so much. Like, keep me in mind. And that's okay. Like, I was working on a UGC deal with one of my one-on-ones, and they wanted all this crazy stuff. And I was like, you're the business owner. You're going to choose. Like, because my whole thing, especially when I help people, like, I don't want people to depend on me. I want people to think for themselves. Like, it's always like, what does your business gut say? They're like, that's not what I hired you for. I'm like, I'm going to tell you what I think after, but you need to have the skill of trusting yourself. You need to not depend on like other people, like trust yourself. What do you think? Do you feel comfortable with this? And this one girl was like, actually, I do. Like, I don't really feel like it's a problem. Truly, I feel like everyone says, I don't know, something about like raw footage or whatever. And I was like, okay, so this is your business. Like, how do you want to run it? And how like you will learn down the road. I'm here to like guide you with like what I think is a yes or no, but people learn, and also learning when to walk away is a skill. And just this baked in fear of like, oh, I can't speak up. Yes, you can. It's your freaking business. If you don't advocate for yourself, you're not going to get more. If you don't pitch, it's the same thing. It's like, if you don't pitch, you're not going to get it. Well, if you don't advocate and push, you're also not going to get it. So it's like, it's a lesson in just standing up for yourself. I think that's really what it is.
Yeah, 1000%. And I find that especially if you do see yourself working with a brand more than once, like if that's the best case scenario in your mind, which I really try to make happen as often as possible, what that fee you set early on is kind of going to set the standard fee of the way that they value you as a creator. So if you start too low, and they want to continue working with you on a monthly basis, for example, like you then have to like raise your rate after the fact, which I would rather raise it straight up. I want it to get it to the highest it can be early on, as long as I'm comfortable with the scope of work. And then when they come back, it's like, that's the expectation. They're not thinking.
I think it comes down to you treating yourself as a business. Like, in so many ways, right? You're like, listen, I'm going to negotiate because this is a business. I'm going to knock on doors because this is a business. I'm going to enroll in this pitching program because it's a business. Like, you invested in yourself, and that could be from your past work and like your other jobs. Like, you're not afraid to invest in yourself. And maybe there is that piece of like, you've tasted rejection before. Like, you're like, it's okay. It's not personal. Like, we need to keep it moving. And I think that's like something you don't know until you're in the waters, right? Like, you didn't know to raise your rates until you were in it. You didn't realize how much work certain things would take. So much of like, so many people are like, how much would you charge? I'm like, are you even in a conversation yet? Like, are you even like, so many people are in theory land. It's like, get into the practice land and then figure out what you're going to do. Like, don't figure it out 20 days. You know what I mean? Because like, you're not even in the game.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's such a learning process. Like you gain so much perspective when you do start to negotiate. Like like I said, I will double my fee and just see what they say. And knowing like they're going to want some usage in there, or it just like, it gives me the wiggle room of like safety that I feel like I'm getting more, and I'm getting like as close to my rate as possible. Sometimes they don't even negotiate back. Sometimes they're like, oh yeah, okay, we could do that. And you're just like, oh my God, why wasn't I doing this sooner? Cause they're basically sizing you up, like in a way, they're giving you like the lowest they want to pay, and they'll 100%. Call it their standard rate, but it's like, a lot of people won't push back on that.
And I saw this recently in a response from a brand. We typically pay creators, and that was a loophole. Typically.
I see that all the time. And then I'm like, okay, well, I'm not like a normal creator. And that's just like, that's how I put myself, like, that's how I want to position myself, right? It's like, if you have certain creators that you pay more, like I want to be in that group. Right. So it's like,
because you believe you deserve to be there. You deserve to be at that table. Like, you believe that.
Yeah. You have to have the confidence to try. And like, if you're like afraid of losing the deal, what's the worst that can happen? They say they can't negotiate. And then it's up to you to discern if you want the deal or not. Like early on, like I was accepting a lot of deals, which, were fair. They were good. But like, I needed the experience. I needed to get familiar with working with products. I needed more talk to camera. Like I needed to build my skill set. So I was flexible,
So cool.
Yeah, you have to do that. And then it's like, you just learn so much. And now I love negotiating. Like I honestly get so stoked. And then when you kind of like win the negotiation, you're like, yeah. And it's like me and my husband, like high five. We're like, let's go.
I think, it's funny. I had someone once tell me, Nina, before your program, like I was so afraid, again, that confidence thing. And then she said to me, now I see pitching as a sport. Like I see it as a competition. It is a sport, truly. Like we're just going out and we're going to have this like mindset. I feel like I need to interview like a sports psychologist. Like what makes athlete truly like there has to be some sort of killer instinct or something that talks about people's inner motivation to just be like, I'm just going to go. Even if I fail, who cares? Like let's just try. And I love to see that. I love your story and I love how you are just so open and sharing it with us. So thank you so much. The last question, and then we'll wrap up our amazing interview with one of our great students, Alexandra Page. What would be that one piece of advice for a creator who was you 6 months ago? I believe you joined us 6 months ago, right? In
Yeah,
April,
more or less.
like that. Yeah. Who was you 6 months ago with 174 followers on her page, and 0 brand deals. Fast forward to now working with so many brands, hitting those, 5-figure months. What's that one piece of advice?
I have 2 because I feel like I can't just choose one of these.
No, yeah, you never have to choose one.
Start before you're ready. Start before you believe you're ready. Just start. Like that's like the oldest advice in the book, but it's true. Like with anything, you really just need to start and then it builds and it grows and you learn. Like you can only learn if you start and follow up. Like follow up and do not take it personally when people don't get back to you. I just gave this advice to a friend of mine and I think it's such an important piece of the game. Like you have to be willing to, talk to no one, get no response, but that doesn't mean there's not money there. And so much of it is timing and just be consistent. Like it's that consistency of showing up and believing in yourself and continuing on the pitch. And, it will usually come, like it will come full circle and you'll be so glad that you stuck.
I love that. I remember when we were on a mastermind call and you showed up and everyone was sharing like questions and you just got on there and you're like, Nina, I just want to share. I was like, I didn't expect it. You were like, this has been so monumental. And like, you were just like saying such amazing things. And I remember texting the team. I'm like, oh my God, there's this girl. Her name is Alexandra. She's killing it in UGC. She just started 6 months ago. She's blowing it out of the water. We need to get her on the podcast. I was like, we need to get her on the podcast. Yeah. And then boom, here we are, like a couple of weeks later on the podcast, like having this conversation. I love how things turn out. So thank you for sharing so openly that day, because if you didn't, I would have never known how awesome you were doing.
Well, it was funny because I was so busy. I was like, oh my God, I need to make this call, but I'm so busy. I have so much like filming to do and scripting and all this stuff. And I'm like, I'm here because of Nina. I'm here because of this course. And like life is just so different now. Like I can't tell you how good it feels to like be able to do this from home. I'm doing it full time, but like you could easily do this part time. It's work, but there's just so much opportunity that it's almost like a sin not to try, because if you enjoy creating content, you can be working with brands like straight up and you can be making great income off it. And I'm blessed that that's now my situation. And I'm excited to just take it all the way and keep growing. So thank you for providing the tools, because I am such a course girly. Like I'm actually building one myself, but like I love to take a course because I don't have time, like I don't want to learn things the hard way. And I love that like industry standard insight. Like if I'm starting something new, I want to know like, okay, what is normal? So when you told me things like follow up, like email multiple people on the marketing team on the same day, I remember I asked this question and like, thank God I did, because someone answers, right? But not everyone. So it's like just really going for it and sending it. That has been transformational for me.
I appreciate the honesty. And I'm a course girly too. It's funny because there's so much information nowadays, like ChatGPT and YouTube and podcasts and AI, and we're like information overload. And what I always tell people is if I want to learn something, I just want the step-by-step horse blinder method. Like I don't want to be distracted with all the rabbit holes because I have like intense ADHD. So I'm going to be like, ding, 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 ding. Like if I want to learn about investing and I just go into ChatGPT, I'm like, I want to learn to invest, or I want to learn how to grow, whatever. Yes, ChatGPT could answer all of these questions, but you don't know what you don't know. So like, for example, I don't know, like the maturity date of a certain bond, whatever. Yeah. I learned that when I'm like, oh, okay, I want to learn from someone who's just going to put the horse blinders on and do step-by-step processes. And then when I'm done with this, I'm expecting a certain result. So I co-sign with you being like a course girly. And then, the idea of me and you were lifelong learners, like I'm sure this isn't going to be the last program you take. Maybe you'll take an investing course one day, you'll take a different course or whatever. Like we are just learners. And I think that's a commonality of a lot of the creators that I work with that are successful. They are constantly learning and growing and like listening to podcasts and expanding their brains, not just being stagnant. Whenever I kind of get like low, it's because I'm not growing. I'm not listening. Even this morning, I was like, I need a new podcast to listen to. I need something. I need to like grow because it's so easy to just shrivel, So this was a good reminder for me as well.
Yeah.
All right, Alexandra, how can people like follow along? Is there any place that we can send them to? I know you're not like typical influencer-y, but if you have anything, let us know and I'll include it in the show notes.
Yeah. Well, I'm more and more active on Instagram now. It's Alexandra Page, and I'm building a few resources that are really specific to wellness and luxury and aesthetic UGC, because I feel like there wasn't a ton of information like specific to UGC with that. So I have a free starter kit that I built just about kind of how to position yourself, how to build your Instagram profile and your bio, your link in bio, all these things just to do it in like an elevated way, because I get plenty of inbounds as well. And I feel like Instagram, although mine's not big, I mean, almost at 600 followers now, but like it still brings me money. Like I get inbounds all the time on DM. So yeah, I created a starter kit for that. You could follow me on Instagram where I talk about everything.
Thank you. And we'll make sure we'll include your info in the show notes. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. And thanks, Alexandra, for your time.
Thank you so much, Nina.